Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here, Golden Opportunities Coaching. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here is discuss a variety of social, psychological, and coaching-related topics on a daily basis, and we do that in an audio format. Today, we're going to discuss 5 things that can impact your parenting style. Now, that does not necessarily mean they will, but they can. And it's just things for you to be mindful of. So the first is how you were reacted to as a child will impact how you react to your children. Your reaction style is shaped by what you see your parents do. So if your parents were, for example, prone to yelling, or prone to grounding and harsh punishment, or prone to allowing you to be very inquisitive, your reaction to your children's questions, worldview, things, how they learn, is going to be shaped by what you believed or was taught was acceptable when you were a child. So it's important to identify, before you have children preferably, what parts of your childhood reaction style you didn't like or enjoy, so that you can learn ways to modify how you behave before the baby is born. Because by the time you're dealing with parenthood, your natural reactions are already ingrained and they're harder to change. So if you're looking to change behavioral reactionary things, it's better to do before your child is born as opposed to while they are, a toddler or a young person. The next is, were your parents helicopter parents? Did they have parenting OCD? If they did, you most likely will too, or you'll go to the opposite direction, which is almost bordering on, for some people, parental indifference. So if you had a parent that was hypersensitive about everything that could go wrong, you're going to take one of two tracks most likely. Either you are going to be super protective like they were, believing that it is what a parent does to protect their child, and not necessarily wanting your child to take any unnecessary or unexpected risks. Or you're going to go, you know what, I hated being smothered, I hated being overprotected, I'm going to be the opposite of what my parents were. And therefore, if you are ultimately dealing with, kind of being more relaxed on purpose, you might not set the best boundaries for your child, and they may have challenges to you about your parental authority if you're too soft. So finding the proper level of balance and boundaries is super important in child raising. Now, here's an uncomfortable one. If you have been abused, you are more likely to abuse your children. Now, it doesn't mean you will, and so please don't get offended. However, if you have trauma from your own abuse, verbal, physical, mental, whatever, you are more likely to treat your children the way that you were treated, not because you believe it was right, but because it feels like that's normal. And if, for example, your parents were harsh in the way they spoke to you, but you survived, then you're going to believe your child will survive too, and that they should, for lack of a better term, get over whatever hardship they have in dealing with that. Because, number 4, we repeat cycles we see and are familiar, even the negative ones. So, if you have seen a negative cycle, be it mental abuse, physical abuse, helicopter parenting, and or other forms of unhealthy parenting, you're more likely to repeat what you know simply because it becomes your mind's default, not necessarily because you believe it's right or wrong, but because if you have to do something on autopilot, you're going to do what you know. The last thing in this sense is your inability to trust. Now, this comes down to 3 things. Inability to trust your child's word. In other words, you're always second guessing whether your child is being honest. This especially affects young children, let's say, after the age of majority, usually between 7 and 13, depending on your culture. this will kick in at that point. Or you have an inability to trust your own judgment in parenting your child, which usually comes from the belief that somebody told you wouldn't be a good parent, or you fear being like your parents, so therefore you're trying to do everything they didn't do, and therefore you don't trust yourself, or because of being through abuse and or neglect, you don't trust other people around your child. This can be caregivers, this can be family members, this can be your friends, this can be parents of their friends, but the trust issue is a big issue. At the core, in an ideal world, and we don't always live in one, but dealing with trust issues before having children is the best option so that the fear and lack of trust isn't passed on to another generation or several. I've actually seen it pass through 4 or 5 generations before somebody realizes it isn't working for their family line. But in order to do that, one has to be aware that it's a problem to begin with, and so that takes a certain level of introspection. So hopefully this audio has been helpful. Please feel free to reach out if there's something that could use clarification. And until next time, keep your feet on the ground and your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.